Let's dive into Dario Argento's Suspiria from 1977.
Yeah, a true horror classic.
A visual masterpiece, some say.
Absolutely.
We've got some amazing sources that you sent in, and we're excited to really dig deep and uncover the secrets behind this film.
Yeah, it's more than just a horror film. It's an experience.
Okay.
It's a symphony of color and sound, designed to really immerse you in this world of witchcraft and dread.
Yeah, and from the excerpts that you provided, it's clear you're already familiar with the basic plot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Susie Bannion, American ballet student, arrives at this prestigious German dance academy.
Yeah.
But it turns out this academy is a secret coven of witches.
Right.
But one of the things that really grabbed my attention was this point about the 3-strip Technicolor process.
Oh, yeah.
Like they were using, basically a dying technology on the brink of obsolescence.
Yeah.
And it ended up giving the film this incredibly rich, almost hyper-real look.
It's fascinating, how limitations can breed innovation. Argento was forced to work within constraints of this outdated technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it resulted in a visual style unlike anything we had seen before. I mean, the colors are so vibrant, so saturated. It's like they practically pulsate on the screen.
It's almost as if the colors themselves are a character in the film, contributing to this, unsettling atmosphere and the sense of, creeping dread.
Absolutely.
Speaking of unsettling, we have to talk about Goblin's score.
Oh, the music, yes.
Yeah.
It's as iconic as the visuals. And what's really unique is that Goblin composed and recorded the score before filming began.
Wow.
Which is practically unheard of in filmmaking, right? Yeah. Usually it's the opposite. They film the movie and then they score it.
Yeah.
But this was completely different.
It's like Argento was building the film around the music.
Yes.
Allowing it to kind of dictate the pacing, the editing, the overall mood.
Mm-hmm.
One of your sources mentions how the pulsating rhythm in the main theme seems to mirror Susie's heartbeat as she arrives at the academy.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost as if the music is foreshadowing the danger that awaits her.
It is. It's like a heartbeat.
Right.
And it gets faster and faster as the danger increases.
Yeah, and it's those subtle touches that elevate Suspiria from just a simple horror film to, a masterpiece of sensory storytelling.
That's a great observation. Yeah.
And it's not just subtle touches, right?
Right.
Like Argento uses the music to amplify some of the film's most shocking moments.
Yes.
Think about the scene where Pat is attacked in her apartment.
Yeah.
The music becomes this chaotic, almost unbearable assault on your senses, right? Mirroring the violence unfolding on the screen.
Yes.
And it's both terrifying and exhilarating.
He understands the power of sound.
Right.
To evoke emotion.
Yeah.
To create tension. And to really manipulate the viewer's experience.
Yeah, this makes me think about the giallo genre.
Oh, yeah.
And your sources describe it as this blend of stylish thrillers, mystery, and often graphic violence. Seems like Suspiria ticks all those boxes.
Absolutely. I mean, Argento is a master of giallo, and Suspiria is one of the most iconic examples of the genre.
Where?
You have the mysterious deaths, the stylized violence, the focus on mood and atmosphere, but Argento takes those elements and elevates them with his unique visual flair and unsettling use of sound.
There's a scene early in the film where the ballet mistress is murdered.
Right.
And Argento uses these slow, deliberate camera movements, almost like a ballet itself.
Yes.
To build tension and create a sense of inevitability.
It's beautiful and horrifying at the same time.
Right. And then when the violence erupts, it's quick, brutal, and shocking, all set to Goblin's frenzied score.
He's a master of building tension and releasing it in unexpected ways. He keeps you on the edge of your seat, wondering what horrifying surprise awaits you around every corner.
And it's not just the murders themselves.
No.
Argento uses everyday objects and locations to create a sense of unease.
Yes.
The dance academy, for example, is both beautiful and sinister. The vibrant colors and ornate decor contrast sharply with this sense of, something dark and dangerous lurking beneath the surface.
It's a brilliant example of how he uses visuals to convey subtext.
Yeah.
He's not explicitly telling you that something is wrong, but you feel it in your gut.
Right.
You can sense the danger lurking beneath the surface of this seemingly idyllic setting.
It's like the entire film is a visual metaphor for the hidden evil that lies within this seemingly prestigious institution.
Exactly.
And speaking of hidden evils, we can't forget about the Three Mothers trilogy.
Oh, yes.
Suspiria is actually the first chapter in a larger story, right?
It is.
About these three powerful witches who control the world from their secret lairs, and each witch represents a different aspect of evil. Is that right?
That's right.
This excerpt here mentions Mater Suspiriorum, the mother of sighs, who embodies despair and sorrow.
Exactly. And Argento uses the film's visuals and sound design to embody those concepts. So the oppressive atmosphere, the deep reds and blacks that dominate the color palette, the haunting whispers and cries that permeate the soundtrack, they all contribute to this feeling of overwhelming sadness and despair that just hangs over the film.
It's like Suspiria is a window into Mater Suspiriorum's soul, a glimpse into the heart of darkness that she represents.
And the fascinating thing is that Suspiria only scratches the surface of this mythology.
Oh.
The other two films in the trilogy, Inferno and The Mother of Tears, they delve even deeper into this world of witchcraft and explore the powers of the other two mothers.
You've piqued my curiosity. I'm definitely adding those films to my watch list.
Oh, good.
But before we get ahead of ourselves,
yeah,
let's talk about the characters in Suspiria.
Okay.
One of the criticisms I've seen is that the characters, apart from Susie, aren't particularly well developed.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Suspiria is much more focused on atmosphere and mood than on complex character development.
But maybe that's intentional. Maybe Argento is using the characters as archetypes.
Yeah.
Symbols rather than fully fleshed out individuals.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Perhaps he's more interested in exploring these archetypal themes of innocence, corruption, and the seductive nature of evil than in creating realistic characters.
And maybe that's why the film continues to resonate with audiences after all these years.
Yeah.
It taps into these primal fears and desires that are universal, regardless of character development.
Perhaps the film's power lies in its ability to bypass our rational minds and speak directly to our subconscious. It's a theme that we experience, viscerally, emotionally, rather than intellectually.
And that's part of what makes it so unsettling, so unforgettable.
Exactly. It's interesting thinking about those archetypal characters.
Yeah.
Alongside the film's visual language, even without, really deep backstories.
Yeah.
Each character is visually coded.
Oh, yeah.
In a way that immediately tells us something about their role in this nightmarish world.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Like the bright colors that are worn by the young dancers contrast so sharply with the dark, heavy robes of the witches.
Yes.
It's like a visual representation of innocence versus corruption.
Precisely.
Right.
And then you have Susie, who arrives at the academy in the splash of bright yellow standing out from the other students.
Yeah.
It's almost as if her clothing foreshadows her role as the protagonist.
Okay.
The one who will ultimately challenge the darkness.
And Argento really uses color in such a powerful way.
Yes.
It's not just decorative.
No.
It's integral to the storytelling.
Yes.
Adds these layers of meaning and subtext that you might miss if you're not paying attention.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about the camera work. Argento uses these incredibly stylized, almost operatic camera movements to create this sense of unease and disorientation.
Right.
It's as if the camera itself is a character. Okay.
Lurking in the shadows, observing the characters and their descent into madness.
Yeah, the scene where Susie first enters the dance academy is a perfect example. The camera glides through these hallways, lingering on these strange details.
Yeah.
A cobweb-covered chandelier, a single red shoe lying abandoned on the floor.
Yeah, it's creeps.
It's like Argento's inviting us to become voyeurs.
Yes.
To peer into this world of secrets and danger.
Right, and the way he frames shots, often use the extreme close-ups on the character's eyes, creates this feeling of claustrophobia and paranoia.
Okay.
You're constantly on edge, wondering what's lurking just outside the frame, what's about to happen next.
Speaking of things lurking just outside the frame, one of the things that I found most fascinating about the sources you shared is this discussion of the unseen in Suspiria.
Oh, yes.
There are so many moments where we hear something.
A whisper, a scream, a scratching sound.
Right.
But we don't see the source.
Yeah, that's one of the things that makes Suspiria so effective as as a horror film,
Yeah.
Argento understands that what we don't see can be far more terrifying than what we do see.
Yeah.
You know, our imaginations run wild,
Sure.
filling in the blanks with
Yeah.
our own worst fears.
Like in the scene where Susie is lying in bed.
Yes.
And she hears that blood-curdling scream from the next room.
Yeah.
The camera stays fixed on her terrified face. And we hear the chaos unfolding off screen.
Yeah.
It's pure auditory terror.
It's masterful sound design.
Right.
You know, he uses sound not just to accompany the visuals, right? But to create an entirely separate layer of horror.
Yeah, and that brings us back to the Technicolor process.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned earlier how the limitations of this dying technology might have contributed to the film's unique look.
Right.
So Technicolor, with its 3-strip process, had a limited color palette
Yes.
compared to modern film stocks.
Right.
And because each color strip had to be perfectly aligned during filming, it required this level of precision that could be quite challenging.
Very challenging.
So those constraints might have forced Argento and his cinematographer to be more creative with their use of color.
Exactly.
They couldn't just throw every shade imaginable at the screen.
Right.
They had to make like deliberate choices, you know, to use color in a more symbolic, expressive way.
Exactly. And that's perhaps why the colors in Suspiria are so impactful.
Okay.
You know, they're not just realistic. They're heightened, exaggerated, almost hallucinatory.
Right.
Think of that deep blood red that saturates so many scenes. It's not just the color of blood.
Right.
It's a symbol of violence, of passion, of the primal forces at play within the film.
It's like Argento's painting with color.
Yes.
Using it to evoke emotion, create atmosphere, to tell a story that goes beyond words.
Exactly.
Creating a world that's both beautiful and terrifying, seductive and repulsive.
And that duality is at the heart of Suspiria. This is a film that revels in contradictions, right?
Right.
Beauty and horror, innocence and corruption, reality and nightmare. It's a film that draws you in with its visual splendor and then traps you in a web of dread and paranoia.
And that's perhaps why it's so difficult to categorize Suspiria.
Yeah.
Is it a horror film, a giallo, an art film, a psychological thriller?
It's all of those things.
Right. It's all of those things, and none of them. Right.
It transcends genre.
Yeah.
It's an experience, unlike any other.
Right.
And that's why, despite its flaws, you know, despite its sometimes nonsensical plot and underdeveloped characters, it continues to fascinate and disturb audiences.
It's a film that gets under your skin and stays with you long after you've seen it. You might not be able to explain why it's so effective.
Yeah.
But you can't deny its power.
It's a testament to the power of cinema.
Right.
To tap into our deepest fears and desires, to transport us to another world and to leave us forever changed.
And speaking of being transported to another world, we need to talk about Suspiria's place within the larger context of Argento's work.
Right.
You mentioned the Three Mothers trilogy, but Argento's made a number of other films
He has.
that explore similar themes of witchcraft, the occult, and the dark side of human nature. So Suspiria wasn't like a standalone exploration of these themes.
No, it wasn't.
It was part of a larger artistic vision
It was.
that Argento had been developing for years. One of your sources mentions The Bird with the Crystal Plumage,
Yes.
which was released almost a decade before Suspiria. It's considered to be one of the films that launched the giallo genre.
Yeah.
And it features a number of elements that we see, again, in Suspiria.
Right.
A mysterious killer, a protagonist who's drawn into a web of intrigue, and a climax that's both shocking and visually stunning.
It's a great film.
And then there's Deep Red.
Ah, yes.
From 1975, which some critics consider to be Argento's most accomplished giallo.
Yes.
It features a similar blend of psychological suspense, graphic violence, and dreamlike imagery. So it's fascinating to see how Argento's style evolved over time.
It is.
How he refined his techniques and pushed the boundaries of the genre with each film.
He was a true innovator.
Right.
Yeah.
And Suspiria is arguably the culmination of that evolution.
I think so.
It's the film where he fully embraces the supernatural, the fantastical, and the surreal.
Right.
It's a film where he abandons any pretense of realism and creates a world that exists purely on its own terms.
Yes.
A world governed by nightmares and witchcraft.
It's a fascinating world.
And that's perhaps why it's so enduring, so influential.
Yeah.
It's a film that breaks the rules.
It does.
That defies categorization. That dares to be different.
Absolutely.
And it's a film that inspires other filmmakers.
Yes.
To do the same.
To take risks.
To push the boundaries of genre.
To explore the dark side.
To explore the dark side of human nature. And to create worlds that are both beautiful and terrifying.
And that brings us to the 2018 remake of Suspiria. Right. Which is
a fascinating beast in its own right.
It is.
It's not a shot-for-shot remake.
No.
But rather like a reimagining of the story with its own unique style and theme.
It's almost as a conversation with the original. Right. A way for a new generation of filmmakers to engage with Argento's vision and explore those themes that made Suspiria so impactful.
And the director, Luca Guadagnino?
Yes.
He's no stranger to atmospheric storytelling.
No, he's not.
I mean, his film, Call Me by Your Name,
beautiful film,
is a masterclass in mood and sensuality.
Absolutely.
But with the Suspiria remake, he takes those sensibilities and applies them to a completely different genre.
It's a bold move,
right?
And I think it pays off.
Okay.
The remake is a much more cerebral film than the original.
Okay.
It delves deeper into the psychological aspects of the story, exploring themes of female power, guilt, and the legacy of trauma.
One of the things I found really interesting about the remake
was
how it weaves in elements of German history.
Oh, yes.
Particularly the shadow of World War II and the lingering sense of guilt and repression that haunted that era.
It adds a whole new layer of meaning to the story.
Right.
The Dance Academy becomes like a microcosm of German society, a place where the past is never truly buried, right? And where dark secrets threaten to resurface.
And Tilda Swinton.
Oh, yeah.
She's absolutely mesmerizing in the film.
She is.
Playing multiple roles, including the lead witch, Madame Blanc.
Incredible performance.
Her performance is both chilling and strangely seductive.
Swinton's a master of transformation, and she brings a real gravitas to the role of Madame Blanc. She embodies the power and the menace of the witches in a way that's both terrifying and alluring.
But the remake also received some criticism, right? Some people felt that it lacked the visual punch of the original.
Yeah.
That the color palette was too muted and that the overall tone was too somber.
I can understand those criticisms. The remake is a much more restrained film than the original.
Okay.
It's more interested in psychological realism
than in operatic excess.
But I think that's what makes it so fascinating.
I agree.
It's not trying to be a carbon copy of the original.
No.
It's a different interpretation.
It is.
A different perspective on the same story.
And it raises some interesting questions about the nature of remakes in general.
Okay.
You know, is it possible to recapture the magic of the original?
Right.
Or should a remake strive to be something entirely new? A reinterpretation rather than a replication.
In the case of the Suspiria remake, I think Guadagnino succeeds.
I agree.
In creating something new and thought-provoking while still paying homage to the spirit of the original.
It's a film that demands to be seen on its own terms.
Okay.
Not simply as a remake of a classic. It's a film that will stay with you long after the credits roll.
Yeah.
Just like the original.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Suspiria,
I think it's clear that we're talking about more than just a horror film.
We know.
We're talking about a work of art that has transcended genre and time.
Absolutely.
That continues to inspire and terrify audiences.
Yes.
And that has left an indelible mark on cinema history.
Suspiria is a testament to the power of vision, to the ability of a filmmaker to create a world that is both beautiful and terrifying, seductive and repulsive. It's a film that challenges us, provokes us, and ultimately leaves us wondering where the line between reality and nightmare truly lies.
And I think that's a fitting place to leave our discussion.
I agree.
We've delved deep into the world of Suspiria, exploring its themes, its visuals, its sounds, and its enduring legacy.
Yes.
But ultimately, the true power of Suspiria lies in its ability to linger in your mind.
Yes.
To haunt your dreams.
Absolutely.
And to make you question the very nature of reality.
Yeah. So, dear listener, as you go forth from this deep dive, keep your eyes open for the subtle signs of witchcraft, for the whispers in the shadows, and for the vibrant colors. That might just be a portal to another world. And remember, the next time you hear a sigh, it might just be Mater Suspiriorum calling your name.
Until next time on The Deep Dive, keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
And keep the lights on.